Are churches always lagging behind the rest of culture? Does it seem like churches are more often adopting trends than setting them? This is an observable phenomenon. We live in an individualistic society dominated by the internet. And as Christians, we often find ourselves looking at the latest hype and thinking, should we partake in this? Is this beneficial? When social media took off, churches hesitated at first. When church live streaming first came out, many people saw it as impersonal. Then COVID happened, and overnight, even skeptical churches became digital ministries. So, is the church keeping up or playing catch up? This feeling of being perceptually behind can be even more discouraging when we look at the way culture, media, and technology right now are accelerating like never before. So let's unpack why the church is behind on many trends, why that might be changing, and which trends we should be embracing and avoiding. And the first thing I want to be clear on is the motivation behind our desire for relevancy. A lot of times the church moves slowly for good reason. If you're a church leader, you're not a startup trying to go viral. You are a steward of truth, and truth doesn't change with the times. Spiritual caution is a good thing. It protects us from being blown around by every wind or every trend. But are there real opportunities we could be missing? Our job is to discern what's a fad to avoid and what's a frontier to step into, ensuring that the church holds true to both her integrity and her mission to reach people in all different areas. We've faced these crossroads before. When the printing press was invented, it was disruptive and controversial. But it ended up being one of the most powerful tools for spreading the gospel in history. When radio and television emerged, some Christians called them worldly distractions, while others saw their potential and reached millions. While many people were worried about the privacy concerns around debit cards, SecureGive's giving kiosk and digital giving successfully brought the offering plate to a new generation of givers. In all these cases, hesitancy was replaced with normalcy, and with new tools, the mission of the gospel continued to advance. That same principle applies today. For the church, trends like AI, cryptocurrency, and TikTok don't have to be shiny new fads or scary unknowns. They can be avenues for the truth when used wisely. When churches wisely adopt those technologies, it's not about chasing convenience, it's about removing barriers to generosity. Let's zoom in to AI. This will be a huge shift for the church, and its effects are inevitable, but many are saying we as a society and even as a church are unprepared. So now is the right time to take action, to understand AI, and to discern where it should and shouldn't be used. Already, church websites, sermon prep, data insights, and marketing are benefiting from artificial intelligence. There are so many great ways to utilize it right now that don't impede on the church's mission. We see many pastors using large language models to discover and organize relevant topics that help them to better inform their sermons and their congregations. They simply open ChatGPT or Gemini and send a prompt like, "What ethical questions are younger generations currently wrestling with?" Or, "Where is church attendance currently trending across demographics?" Church marketing teams can utilize SEO terms from AI models to enhance their reachability on social media and their website. And newsletters, email announcements, and social media captions can all be drafted quickly, saving time for your communications department. But having a strong stance on where to draw the line as a church doesn't position you as behind. In fact, we're seeing many people using the intelligence of these chatbots to ask spiritual questions, to seek spiritual counsel. While these instances show a genuine desire to know God, at what point are they simply talking to a chatbot instead of their creator? Many of these chatbots are simply designed to affirm and comfort the user, to adapt their responses based on the user's psychology. Are you ready to address these issues when they arise? Because they're already happening. Where culture is throwing caution to the wind, the church can actually provide an alternative, a wiser approach to AI that discourages idolization and encourages prayerful utility. This is similar to the internet, an incredible tool for reaching people with the gospel, but a problem when people place it above God. Now, if you work in the ministry world and AI is a mystery to you, we've already recorded a comprehensive video explaining AI's role in the church. It's titled AI and Church, Everything Pastors Should Know, and it'll be in the link in the description as well. Let's talk about crypto. Even digital assets, while risky, are developing rapidly. And many banks and financial institutions like JP Morgan, BlackRock, even PayPal are already adopting cryptocurrency for its blockchain capabilities, allowing for faster and cheaper transactions. And the US has recently begun its first cryptocurrency treasury, holding a massive amount of Bitcoin. And with crypto being a decentralized asset and digital wallets becoming more commonplace for the average individual, we're already seeing many congregants ask their churches about how to donate using non-cash assets like crypto and stock. We think cross-border transactions will eventually be made on crypto's blockchains as well, making international donations even more efficient and cost-effective also. And then there's the creative side of culture, one that's particularly interesting to me as someone who works in visual storytelling and marketing. We've seen many churches fall behind in the art world over the last several decades, playing catch up as the internet ramps up the pace of change. The problem with trying to keep up with culture in this area, though, is that it actually keeps us permanently behind. What I mean is, if the church treats art and culture as checkboxes, they'll never be ahead of the curve again. And throughout history, they often were. I mean, think about where the biggest explosions of cultural creativity have come from hymns to paintings to cathedrals to even books and films. The Renaissance happened because of the church's patronage and a renewed interest in Christian ideas like redemptive beauty through painting, sculpting, and music. So what if instead of reacting to culture, we started creating culture again? What if the best art, the most meaningful design, and the most powerful storytelling came from the church and flowed into the world? Somewhere along the way, many churches decided that beauty and innovation were low-tier issues, that they could simply be distractions from our message. But the truth is, they're central to our message. When the body of Christ uses the tools they have, the artistic means they have, to worship and invite others into worship, that's excellence. And it's not a marketing fad. So how do we encourage that creativity? I believe it's through recognition and calling. Remember the artists and creatives in your congregation. Many of them would love to use their gifts in a way that's meaningful and honoring to God. And it doesn't stop with the musicians who want to join the worship team. Announce serving opportunities in your church on Sunday mornings. This could be anything from event photography and videography to creating church murals and sermon art. Bring them into meetings and listen to their ideas. If your church only uses graphic design for logos and bulletins, you could be missing a chance to inspire Christians through the beauty of art. Maybe that means hiring a full-time graphic designer, bringing on a team of volunteer photographers, or starting an artist collective for meeting at your church to learn and encourage each other. Now, depth is important, but that doesn't mean that the creativity in your church is limited to this kind of artistic excellence. Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, these are all amazing platforms for spreading the gospel, sharing small seeds of hope that grow into something greater. There's an entire subculture of Christian media on these platforms. And additionally, secular trends like, say, a TikTok song or a storytelling technique on Instagram give us an opening to naturally show who we are on the feeds of individuals who don't attend church at all. It's a balancing act, finding how much effort to put into all these small evangelical tools while remembering to anchor it all in the depth of your content, from online services to full-length sermons on YouTube to scripture quotes, beautifully shared on Instagram and Facebook. And it should all be in service of bringing people to the real in-person connections that your church offers. Social media is all about balance. Of course, not every trend deserves the church's attention. Some trends rewire our priorities around popularity instead of discipleship, forcing us to bend to unhealthy tendencies of the world. Take, for instance, culture's obsession with subjectivity and individualism. The sort of live and let live approach has led to more division than unity, allowing relationships to fracture and people to create their own religions. The internet gave rise to countless worldviews, all available at our convenience. And if it's all subjective, who is to say one worldview is better than another? As the church, we can agree that God made us unique, but He also designed us to worship, and that unites us. It gives us a place in something bigger than us. This is where the church is called to stand firm. to hold to biblical principles and remain a source for unchanging truth that can change the world. We offered the solution to this division by grounding ourselves in truth. With such drastic changes happening at such a rapid pace, the church shouldn't chase every wave. So ask questions like, does this new trend help us love people better without sacrificing truth? Does it communicate the gospel more clearly, or is it just part of the noise? Does it build community, or does it just make people feel comfortable? We can't always answer these questions firmly, and that's okay. Letting a few trends pass is sometimes the strongest choice to make. When church leaders listen carefully to the Spirit, they can stand firm where necessary, leading from conviction and not from competition. Now, we can debate about whether the church is lagging on this trend or that trend, but in the background, something interesting is happening. Something that seems to be changing the direction of cultural momentum as we speak. Culture at large is once again asking spiritual questions, almost beckoning the church to make the next move. Recent data from Barna shows that belief in Jesus has gone up in the last year, especially among Gen Z and millennials. Gen Z and millennials are now the most regular churchgoers of any generation, with practically double their attendance from 5 years ago. I'll say that again, Gen Z and millennials attend more regularly than any other generation right now. We talk about utilizing technology wisely for the church. We talk about positioning ourselves at the forefront of art and media. But what if, at the heart of all this, simply being faithful to our calling brings people back to the truth, regardless of trends? In other words, the story is shifting right now, and the church is at the center of it. While we might be late to some trends, many people, especially younger generations, are looking for meaning and belonging. The truth is, the promises of new atheism that invaded culture 30 years ago didn't deliver. They left a void. A postmodern, post-God life isn't liberating, and it certainly hasn't left people feeling that they've gained a sense of truth. Instead, it left them feeling desperate, and now the pendulum is swinging back in the church's direction. People want something that brings them back into a purpose bigger than themselves. So what trends should we chase? We believe if there's an opportunity to share the gospel more broadly with truth and grace, we should be seeking out the latest tools as just that, tools, new ways to reach people and seek lost sheep. If we're expending too much time and resources on fads, however, we might be missing the most valuable opportunity this new generation is desperate for. A more impactful, more resounding message, bringing meaningful services, real outreach, community events, creative storytelling that all point to an unchanging creator in this ever-changing world. So look at the tools God has given you. Maybe it's YouTube. Maybe it's your online giving resources. Maybe it's your website. Maybe it's artificial intelligence and all that has to offer. But ask the Lord how you can wisely use those tools. And then remember, the Lord's greatest asset for loving his people, that's you. You are God's way of changing the world. We make videos every week to help churches with engagement, technology, and stewardship. So subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you in the next one.